Hello my fellow readers, I Dark Symphony 777 with another video. Please, if you can, like the video, subscribe to the channel, click on that bell for notifications, share it around, and leave a comment in the comment section below on your thoughts of the video. So, I am not doing a fan fiction this time. You know me, I always do fan fiction, but this time I am doing a comic. So, I want to give a little background on the comic before I go into anything. So, recently, I've been subscribed to this channel called DanFan. I only think like a month ago I subscribed. And she made a community post one day where she said she's making a comic talking about female on male abuse. And I thought that's very interesting because I was in a relationship. Both me and my ex both abused each other. I will not hide that. I abused her. She abused me. We were both guilty of that. I do regret to this day. Like, it's been almost 2 years since we broke up. I still regret doing what I did to her. I don't think she's the type of person who regrets what she did to me. I think she's that person who'd probably say I'd do it again because she has to be right and everything. But that's all I'm going to say on that. That's the reason why I got interested in this comic, because of that. Because of what I went through, and my friends can actually vouch for that. They probably won't show up on camera because the camera shines, stuff like that. But they can vouch if you meet them and ask them. And then a couple days ago, DanFan mentioned that the comic was complete, and I asked her. I said, "Hey, can I review this for my channel?" She goes, "You don't have to ask me," and here we are. So the topic on female on male abuse is interesting. I actually remember watching a video where it had two actors. They had to pretend to yell at each other in a public park, and the guy started first, and apparently like a bunch of people, when he started yelling at her, a bunch of people started like passing by and telling him to stop, and all that stuff. But when the girl did it, no one passed by, and when they started asking people, it's like, hey, why didn't you stop her? And pretty much almost everyone said the guy probably deserved it in some way. And I always thought the whole idea was interesting about why women always seem to get a pass while men always never do. I know there are exemptions. I know there's always like exceptions to the rule and stuff like that. But I thought this comic would be interesting to at least talk about from a narrative standpoint and how everything works. Now, I did read the comic last night, and you're gonna find me very awkward because I'm not used to really reading visual stuff because I like the written word. I like visualizing everything, and so having stuff visualized for me kind of makes it harder for me to read. But so if I end up being awkward in some things, please forgive me. I am out of my comfort zone. So, in terms of plot, this is basically a microcosm of a female on abusive relationship. It's supposed to kind of epitomize how it works, sort of thing. Because males abuse females by hitting them, by smacking them, attacking them. Females abuse psychologically. They will tear a man down. They will destroy him on the inside. A lot of male suicides, kind of actually happen that way. So, the Blindfold. Story and art by Trisha Kufari. I'm guessing that's DanFan's really name. I hope it's not. I hope she's using an alias too. And so the story starts with these two guys, this couple right here. This is the main character, and he's basically, he's gonna give his girlfriend a gift. So it's anniversary. I thought I'd give you the gift before I get dressed and we go out. And so he gives her the gift. And she opens it, she's like, oh, it's shoes. And, he's like, very happy. It's like, hey, I brought you these nice shoes. And then she says they're not expensive, they're cheap, they're worthless, and stuff like that. And and she's basically she's packing up her stuff. I will have to say, from an artistic standpoint, I don't like don't like this. It looks so weird. Like this is probably the only comic piece I do not like in this comic, because I just find the dimensions of the brioche so weird. Oh, that's just like uncanny. That's weird. It's like, are you supposed to imitating the butt jiggles? I don't know. So anyway, she's telling how, say you're being cheap, but you're going to an expensive party, you should get me more expensive stuff, and yada yada yada. Typical psychological warfare, tearing him down and destroying his emotions, stuff like that. And so he apologizes, and then she basically plays the victim card, the pity card, and says, "Go have fun," and then kicks him out, throws him to the curb, and tell him I said hi, tell loser, and then come back when you have a real present. And so he's kind of like, what do I do? And then apparently his best friend confronts him and said, "Any reason you wanted to stay here for tonight?" And then he's trying to avoid the issue. He pretty much just nails it on the head. It's like, she kicked you out again, didn't you? And he basically says, he tries to protect her, saying that, I still love her and stuff like that. And he's basically laying it out as it is. She's ruining your life, man. You gotta pick yourself up. You gotta break up with her. You gotta kick her out. Then he starts blaming himself. There's another thing. That's pretty much the end consequence of female and male abuse. They break it down to the point that everything is your fault, and that's just how everything works. And he said, "Oh, it canceled," and he talks about stuff like this. And now it's a birthday, and he's with a friend. I'm guessing she has a crush on him. I'm guessing. And still kind of in the throes of still hoping to God he tries to make it work. He's wondering where she is, but doesn't realize that she didn't. She kicked him out again. And other guests are like avoiding talking about her. And then he texts her. "Please come to the party. I miss you." And then she basically blames her kicking him out on him. Like, you kicked me and threw me into the car and ordered me to drive, and now I'm blaming you for doing that. That's another thing that females tend to do. And so he's about to leave to go pick her up, and said, "No, we're gonna have fun." And then we get to the visual representation. I actually really like this idea. It's a common storytelling tool that they hide behind what they wanted behind some kind of veil, and so they use like some kind of blinding technique, usually a blindfold, to kind of see through the eyes what the guy or the girl in that case wanted. Like they're visualizing what they wanted out of the relationship. And that's kind of a way to tell that they truly, they kind of, in the brain, they know the relationship's fucked up, but in the heart, they still think it can make it work. It's a simple show and tell technique that's still pretty useful today. I know, again, there are exceptions to the rule. It is very much better fitted for visual storytelling than written word. Like, if you do the same thing in written word, it's not going to have as big an impact as it would if you actually see it in a visual sense. So they're spinning him, and then we get the first fantasy, like what he wanted out of the relationship. And so it's basically she loves him, he loves her. Basically a true Prince Charming and Cinderella-esque romance sort of thing. And he's like I said, it's like he in his heart he's visualizing this, but truthfully he knows in his brain that the relationship is garbage. He knows that it's ruined. He knows that she's abusing him, but in his heart he's following his heart rather than his brain. So they're all worried, and so now he's like panicking, like, because now he's now getting that through his brain. He gets home. He's sleeping, and so we get back to the visual again with the blindfold. Now sometimes following your heart can have risk consequences. Usually, in cases like this, they start using like the blindfold as a drug sort of thing to like blind themselves to reality. And so everything is a fantasy. Like the whole thing with video games. Let's use video games as an example. A lot of people argue that people are becoming so absorbed in video games that they're mistaking a reality for virtual reality. That's what my stepfather says, because my stepfather is a racist douche. And I think there was an episode of Criminal Minds that was actually based around this phenomenon, where these two ultra competitive brothers, they basically played video games so much that they distorted reality with virtual reality, and they kidnapped people, and they basically turned human into like video game characters, and they're like controlling them and stuff like that. And it's a very interesting episode, and I really like the idea that so if we go back up here, you can tell that he's finally seeing that the truth. He's finally seeing that he wants desperately to think to his heart that the relationship can work, but he's realizing that it's not working. It can't work. And so now he's becoming reliant on wanting to see what he wants to see. He's basically using the blindfold as a way to see what he wants to see instead of the truth. Like, he's trying to avoid it as much as possible, and that's destroying him on the inside. So he puts on the blindfold, and now we get back to the fantasy where, she's snuggling up to him. He's about to give him a massage. See, talking about the movie that he said earlier that it was canceled, and now the movie's premiering. Like I said, he wants, this is what his heart wants. This is what he wants in his heart. For everything to work, everything to work out fine. It's like I said, it's very easy to tell this type of story with this type of visual representation. And he's talking about, hey, it's coming out. Let's go back to sleep. And they pull off the blindfold, and now he's like charging. He's kind of starting to mix them. He's slowly trying to mix, like trying to replace the reality with what his fantasy is. Sorry, I forgot. See, where was I? See, he's slowly starting to like kind of come undone mentally, and he's trying to like tell her, said, and he's trying one last chance, trying to ease into trying to break up with her, but he's like, no, I know things will be fine. I'm not going to be pressured into give. See, he's following his heart, despite the fact, based on the body language and everything, like he knows, like he's trying desperately to make this work. And so he heads home. He bangs open the door, and there's her yoga instructor. And he's like, what was he doing here? He's like, since you ditched me, he invited me to have fun at my own party, so I'll be celebrating. Basically, she's going to cheat on him. He's like, he's worthless. I'm going to go with a Chad. You're a virgin. I'm going to go with someone who will treat me like I'm fine, and probably until and treats her like dirt. And so he realizes that that's done. The relationship is done. He looks at the blindfold. He realizes he's trying to. Now he wants to escape. Hold on. Sorry about that. I had to call. Okay, so where was I? Oh yeah. He's holding the bandana. No, not the bandana. The blindfold. He looks at it. He realizes he needs to escape. He needed to escape, and so he puts the blindfold on. Thought I freaking... No. Turn off the goddamn sound. I thought I... There we go. Sorry about that. I thought I turned off the sound. So he puts on the blindfold, and now the whole mixing of reality and fantasy comes undone when you actually see the blindfold actually disappear over his eyes, and he sees the house. He sees the girl. He's she's happy, and now she's panicking because now, you know, they think that, okay, they kind of know what's going on, and now they're gonna stop him. And now, you know, in his fantasy, he's having fun. He's about to jump, but in actuality, he's gonna go kill himself. And that's usually, when it comes to this type of visual storytelling, this is usually the end goal with certain situations. Like, they become so mixed up with wanting to follow the heart that their brain kind of follows a predetermined pattern that causes them to kill themselves. While in their heart, they're doing something very lovely because they want that fantasy to stay until death. They want that last memory to be that fantasy. And so he jumps, and, you know, George, the truth is, I could hear her, I just didn't... And then you kind of see that that he did see everything. So he was following his heart. That's why the fantasies were there. This final panel, like, he knew the truth, but he didn't want to listen. He wanted to follow his heart, and his mind's breaking when he's saved and he's not dead, because now that fantasy is now shattered. It's broken. It's dead, and now we get the ding. And now she's telling, now she's trying to do the same thing again and try and, okay, so let me explain this part. So basically, she's trying to, the girlfriend, or I could say now at the end, now that the fantasy's fallen apart, his soon-to-be ex-girlfriend, she's trying to restart everything. She's trying to restart the process, recycle everything, and then kind of go on a repeat pattern. Like, see, tell you what, take me out to dinner when I come home, just don't get cheap on me. Better not be having, excuse me, cheating. She's trying to restart everything. That's how abusive women go. Like, they basically start, like, do cheap stuff and start bothering you, say, fucking, did you leave your phone off? This is why I need other friends, because you're always letting me down. Who are you fucking? She automatically accuses him of cheating. Just to, you know, try and get her to guilt him into saying, I'm not cheating on anyone, and then reset everything. So that way it happens again and again and again until either he wises up, which is what happened, or he kills himself and the lady just goes to another guy and starts the same thing over again. And he goes, I love her, so why doesn't she love me enough to stop doing this? No, you don't love her, not the real her. See? You see, and this is basically what happens. He loved her, but he loved the fantasy of what he wanted. That's why the visual stuff of the fantasy mixing with reality was so important. It was basically cluing you in on the whole, you don't love the real her. You love what you saw in your heart out of her. And he basically did the love out of loneliness. And I thought that was very impactful and actually really meant a lot to me, because he was lonely. A lot of these women, they prey on men who are lonely, who are kind of broken in a way. There's always something. And I thought that was true, because the reason I fell in love with my ex was she stuck up for me, and that's why. Like, yeah, you can call me a beta, you can call me all that crap, I don't care. I've also been abused by my mom, and no one really stuck up for me like all my life. I'm nearly 30 years old, and I've been constantly been put down by her, constantly yelled at, constantly blamed for everything, and no one stuck up for me. Not even my friends I've known for over a decade have stuck up for me. And so having someone stick up for me to her was something I really loved, and so I fell in love with her that way. Did the relationship work out? No, it didn't. Me and her both made mistakes that I regret, and I am sorry about them. I'm sorry about all the stuff I did to her, because I know according to her, she does watch my videos, and I have a feeling she's probably going to call me after this video comes up, and she's basically going to start treating me like trash, probably threaten to say you're not going to see your son anymore if you don't take down the video and all that stuff. She's going to run that whole gamut, and I'm not going to take down the video. This video means too much to me, and so I really sympathize with the guy, because it's such an obvious thing in hindsight that a lot of these guys who get abused they're broken, they're lonely, they're friendless, like they just want to be happy, and these women take advantage of them. They break them apart. They kind of mentally destroy them, and that's really sad. And my heart goes out to all of them. And basically she tells her, you're not alone, I'm right here. And the whole thing kind of ends with him in the hospital getting better because he did hurt himself. I'm guessing, based on that, he probably got a concussion. He's he's resting, and now it kind of ends with him realizing he does have someone to help him out, and sort of a new beginning. I do like the comic. The only thing I would probably add would probably just add some kind of starting point, because when you have stories like this with any kind of abuse, you need to have some kind of starting point of how they at least got together. It doesn't have to be visual. You don't have to actually see them hook up. It could be a mention. It could be something, anything that kind of get your mind in place to start the timeline in your head. Because with stuff like this, you need to figure out a timeline. You don't know how long this relationship was, how long the abuse has been going on. If there was some kind of indicator of a timeline, anything. He could just mention it's like I met her such and such, or or one of his friends mentioning it's like she always does this, some kind of indicator of time. And I think that's the only thing that's missing from this comic. There's nothing to tell how the relationship started. Why did he like her specifically? That's another thing. There's no reason to tell why he liked her. And honestly, let me go back up. Let's see, where was it? It was a little right here. I think it would have been a nice indicator to mention something that why he liked her, because if you just do the relationship and you don't tell at least some kind of hint of why. I got the whole reason why he's lonely, and he's going out and he's going back to her because if he loses her, he has no one else. I get that's what you're going for, but I do think there could have been at least another mention just on how the relationship started. That's really what this comic is missing, just some kind of indicator. If I had to rate this on a scale of 1 to 5, like I do when I read fan fictions, I would actually give this a 5, because I do think it's a simple case of microcosm, how you pronounce it, and it's just a simple story. I just really think that it needed just an indicator of time. That's really what I think would have made it really, really spectacular. Because here's the thing. If we go back down to when he jumps and the Final Fantasy, it doesn't have as much impact because we don't know a accurate timetable of how everything went. Because once you give us that timetable, even some kind of hint, some kind of indicator of time, people's brains will kind of start bridging everything. Like, when did it start? How would it progress throughout the relationship to get where it did now? Because I'm turning this phone off. Because this comic is basically just the end of the relationship, like the very end. And we just don't know what happened, how it went, what led up to this specifically. We just got the end, and a simple indicator would have just helped, would have brought everything together, because because the relationship could have went on for like a couple months, it could have went on for years, and because there's no indicator how long they've been together, this end point where he's seeing the fantasy and he's about to kill himself, it doesn't have as much impact as it needed to be. I think if there was an ad, I know I'm repeating myself, I always do this. There just needs to be something to indicate the time. It could be anything, literally anything to kind of start it, just to get our minds going in that direction. That's really it. So that is my, I guess you could say, review on The Blindfold by Trisha Kifari. I do like it. I do love the idea. I think this idea can be expanded on. I do want to see more. I do, because Dan Fan's only problem was he didn't know how to properly be able to convey a female on male abuse in comic. And I thought, that's okay, that's your worry. And I thought that's fine. I thought it was fine for what it is, what it's trying to convey storytelling wise. And yeah, it's a nice story. So this has been Dark Symphony 777. I will see you next time, and cut.